Many years after I died, 1,000,000 books of my poems could be found throughout my country, hidden under beds and behind bureaus, crammed behind bookshelves, and in the deepest reaches of drawers. 1,000,000 books of poetry. It was a staggering number and unequal even to the ambition I'd had when I was alive. By then, the 1979 revolution and war with Iraq had left very few families untouched by loss, and hundreds of thousands of Iranians had left the country and were now scattered all around the world. People read my work and claimed I'd foretold our country's destiny in it, the chaos, the ruin, the tortures, the silences, the sons who died, the daughters who disappeared. In Iran, they read my poems as auguries, and they called my death a blessing because it had spared me from watching my prophecies come true one after another for so many years. Once, when my poems were banned by the new regime and a publisher wouldn't stop printing them, his press was burned to the ground, as if poetry could be destroyed like a building or a body. But art wasn't like that. Art could survive even when suppressed, even when outlawed. It could survive far worse fates than fire. There was a day in the new millennium when hundreds of thousands of people gathered in the streets of Tehran. People called it the green path, green for the Prophet Muhammad as they knew him, humane, gentle, generous. The faith in the streets was one reborn from our own roots. People chanted my verses as they marched peacefully toward Azadi Tower that spring, but I wouldn't be there to see it, nor would I be there to witness the loss of so many young men and women along the path of my country's bloody and aborted push toward freedom. God is the only God, came the cries as I was lowered into the ground. The sun was a pale white circle above the Alborz mountains. The wind blew faintly, stirring the sweet, smoky perfume of wild rue. A ring of mourners encircled the grave. At last, the funeral prayers began. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, forgive those of us who are living and those of us who are dead, those of us who are present and those of us who are absent. Forgive us and forgive her. I was turned to the right side, toward Mecca, toward the one who is the only one. Salutations on the prophet, a supplication for the deceased, a pause, a silence, and then the first fistfuls of soil fell upon my body. I feel the earth calling me back to itself. I'm ready now. Swallows would one day lay eggs in my ink-stained palms. Tender green shoots would force their way out of my grave and up toward the air. All this would happen later in the spring when the sun warmed the earth and the sky. But already I had reached a place where censure and suffering are meaningless, where courage has no boundaries, where hope lasts forever and does not fade.